All right, we are back. It's been a minute. Golden Blab.
Few minutes.
Adam Kramer. Yeah, a few minutes, few months, few years. Who's counting? Adam Kramer, Kevin Lindsay, and the one and only Jim Zielinski, co-creator of Golden Tee and course designer. So you know today's episode is going to be we're talking new courses. But since we left off, a lot has happened. We have a new update coming. Kevin, what do people need to know? Because this is we're back, and of course the only way we come back is talking about courses and asking Jim about the new designs. Trailers are out now, by the way. Go check them out. But what else do the people need to know before we get all nerdy with the GT course front?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, release dates. You know, they're a couple of weeks back this year. We gave ourselves a bit more time. Commercial games getting the update September 29th, which at this point, this is technically our Labor Day podcast, but we're recording this on a Friday, so exactly 1 month from today, ironically enough. And then October 20th for Golden Tee Home Edition games, which if you haven't ordered your update yet, cheap plug, store.itsgames.com. Put in your cabinet information, get your update. If you have a PGA Tour Home Edition, you can also pay a couple extra dollars to get the pre-release, which comes out on October 13th. I'll just leave it at that.
A salesman. Well, sort of.
Which, by the way, I want to say, for the people that are like, oh, that's so dumb, why would I do that? I don't know. Ask the couple hundred people that already did it. So,
and every game in the world is doing this too. Just say it. But there, you said you were not going to leave it at that, but you didn't leave it at that. But so we have a ton of features. One of which is leagues that we're going to be talking about because I think it's such an amazing new addition that we can't wait to talk about. We've got skins mode, we've got new shot types. Maybe we'll bring Jim back on for that. But this really is about the courses because no matter what we try and do, the courses will be and always have been the lifeblood, I think, of Golden Tee, and specifically tied to the designs that start with Jim. So Jim, we have you on every year to talk about this. I do. For anybody that's listening for the first time, I always think it's really interesting before we talk about the design specifically of like where you start with this process, and give us a little info on like before you came up with Hawkeye Hills, like how long are some of these designs in your head before you say, all right, I'm going to put this to paper quite literally, and then make the design in Golden Tee. So talk us a little bit about your process for those who haven't heard you talk about it before.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for the first part, it starts with the location where like all during the year, even when I'm working on a certain vintage year, I'm thinking about fun places to golf. And that's really where it starts is like, what would be a fun location? Not only just the area, but what kind of holes it would provide. So I'm always scouting areas that we have the luxury going all over the world, wherever we want to go. And so I do a lot of research on different kind of areas that seem like they would be fun. And a lot of times it's usually I'm thinking about what haven't we done for a while or what haven't we done at all. And I think it's really important to provide something that's fresh and new. I don't want to just do the same repeat cookie cutter course that has already been done. I think it's really important that every year they have something that's new and different. I mean, obviously there's certain parameters that I have to be constrained by because there's only so much you can do with a par 5 or a par 4. There's limitations there, but as far as like what people see, what kind of routing the course takes or the hole takes or different ways to approach the green. I'm always thinking of what could be new and different. So that's pretty much where I start.
So let's dive into it. Kevin, you could pick the course because you've been recording trailer footage now. Like this is the fun. We've all kind of gone through it many years. I used to capture the footage. Kevin, I think it's been some mix of you and the marketing team. So what course do you want to drill our expert on first?
Well, honestly, you already mentioned it, and I have a good joke I don't want to forget. So we'll just start with Hawkeye Hills, which is based in Iowa. I'm sure a decision that Adam had no influence on whatsoever.
Yes.
Decorah,
Iowa. Also, a little side note too. It was funny because Josh Pick, who is our VP of Sales, is from Iowa, from the area, was also very excited about this to say, and Yeah, Jim, take us through. That's wrestling country. I'm told from Josh, whether he's full
Oh,
of
okay.
shit or not, I don't know. Sometimes he is, but I'll believe him on this. So take us through Hawkeye Hills.
Well, yeah, I wanted to do another farm course. We haven't really done one in a while, I think, since the Wisconsin one, maybe. Um, but as with all the farm courses, I mean, obviously, if we did no knock on Kansas and Nebraska, but a flat course needs other elements other than just some corn out there or wheat to provide some interest. So what's nice about the northeastern area of Iowa, it's very hilly, and so you'll see the farms in the rolling hills, and that's kind of what I wanted to at least have some elevation changes there a little bit, even if it's not, I mean, just a straight flat course. We've done that in Dusty Bend where we've had to add buildings and other things to provide the challenge, but for Iowa, for the farm one, I wanted to have something in an area that was a little bit more hilly, and that's pretty much kind of zoned in on that because it has both the farms and the hills.
I was surprised, and actually it's funny because Josh from the area said, "Oh yeah, that fits in terms of the bluffs and the way like this. They're not like significant elevation changes per se,
No,
but for like a drivable par 4 or a par 5, it's a lot. Like it provides a lot of elements of shot making. Obviously, corn
yeah,
also
lots of
is going to
corn.
be
There's a lot of it.
which you can hit out of. Correct? Like you
Yep.
can if you're going to find your way into corn, you can find your way out. But good luck. And then the other part of this too, I think like there's not a ton of water, but the water you have on there is impactful. Like strategically
Yeah,
placed water that,
yeah,
the
it's a
water
little
that's
farm.
on there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, as Kevin alluded to, I am an Iowa homer, so I was I was particularly excited about this one. Another one, let's move to Alaska. So you've got Alaska Lakes, and I will start, Jim, by saying like when you had first talked about wanting to do an Alaska course, this was originally not necessarily my thought. People think Alaska, they think snow, they think mountains. But your thought here was a different spin on it, and talk about it.
yeah. I think we've done several courses in the past that are in the mountains, and I mean, like Monte Ceballos, we could do like easily redo another one with huge elevation changes and golfing up and down the mountains. And what I really wanted to do was have that kind of location and the nice background, but deal with the kind of like the mountain meadow areas. So when I was researching that, I found some really nice areas in Alaska that say this is perfect because really it's mountain meadows with water, and then I really wanted to introduce a new type of surface, which this provides is wet grass, where it's playable water grass. I mean, it looks like imagine your ball is in a little not standing water, but enough water where it's going to impact the shot on the way out. So it's kind of neat. It's a new feature. It's got a little reflection to it. The artist did a really good job with it. It's going to slow you down very quickly when you land in it, and then it's also going to take quite a bit off when you hit out of it. And what it's nice for me is I'm able to use those in strategic areas and to provide another hazard other than sand and water.
I don't know, Kevin, about you. It felt to me almost like sounds odd, like a bayou vibe in the wilderness, like in Alaska. They're like they're kind of marsh. You mentioned wet grass,
Yeah.
which definitely is a really unique element. I think it's going to change the way you play. But Kevin, that was my kind of take on it when I've played it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, when we were going through and I was recording the footage for the course trailers, I tried to do a better job this year of just getting ahead and actually playing through the courses just because, we're all so busy doing other things. But whether it's to provide insight and say, hey, this doesn't feel like it's right, or, XYZ, there may or may not be a drivable par 5 on that course. Spoiler
Yes.
alert. One that is very fun. And it's, that's what I noticed in going through that course is there's not a lot of big greens. There's a couple, but for the most part, you're going to have to be really strategic with the shots you're hitting. And a lot of these greens are surrounded by water or some of these other hazards. And so it's not going to be a walk in the park, but it's a really fun course.
Yes, the drivable par 5. Thank you for bringing that up. Good luck, y'all. good luck. And I mean that in the best possible way. We know everybody loves their drivable par 5s. All right, let's talk Machu Picchu. So I think, Jim, every year, like, especially in marketing, we're like, all right, if we had to pick, actually, it's really hard this year because you have some pretty incredibly diverse locations. But like, what course would be on the postcard for what's new in Golden Tee? Machu Picchu is probably the course because it's just such a unique setting. So I think this is always interesting because you've gone to like the Grand Canyon and Mount Everest. Like, what made you want to go to such a Peru? For those out there who hear Machu Picchu and don't know exactly where it was, I was actually kind of one of those people, just raising my hand. But what made you want to go here? Because it's such a unique place on Earth.
Every time I've seen it, I thought, well, that would be fun to play golf there. It's just a silly thing where it's way up in the mountains. There's there's different levels. Obviously, it's based on an ancient ruin where they kind of flattened out areas to make into agriculture and and corn or whatever they were growing back 3,000 years ago. But well, however it is, I didn't probably have the time frame wrong. I don't know when that culture existed. But anyway, it's kind of a fun area to go, and I thought these levels would be kind of neat. And there's a lot of man-made, I wouldn't say pyramids, but there's definitely these levels of man-made structures all throughout the course. For us, it's hit or miss with, sometimes we go too far, like with the Egypt course or this. It's not too far, but it's definitely stretching the limits of where a golf course could be. It's hard to know whether it's successful or not. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. So it's like rolling the dice whether people accept that or not. We'll see. I think it's fun. But again, it's like, is it too far from? I don't know. It's definitely different, and it's in an area where I think is really kind of fun. And for me, it provides us or me the ability of creating some shots because it's man-made, where I don't have to use like what nature provides, but I can like create it myself. I can kind of like make up any kind of hole that I want to, which is kind of fun.
Kevin, what did you think playing this? Because I have some thoughts, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering if our thoughts are going to cross paths here, because to me, in the best way possible, this feels like Indigo Mound and Falcon Sands, like great, child that's in college. Like, it's just like, it's those courses, you take the best elements and the most challenging elements of those courses, you evolve it. And like you're saying, Jim, those man-made structures, you don't get as crazy as Egypt in terms of like the height and all that, but going through the course, you provide just enough difficulty to the players that they really have to shape their shots well.
Yes, I think the terraces, not just round to round, but then season to season, as you, Jim, to candidly, like, we haven't gone super in depth for like the next season when the tees will change yet. For us, I'm excited to see how the tee changes can impact this course, because there's like so many different ways to go. Also, there's going to be some drop par fours. This is a theme across a few different courses, I think, that like you got to really be specific in what you're going to play, because there's going to be some gettable par fours here if you're able to hit the ball well. And but I think it offers a lot of variety. I know on the par fives, like having played it a handful of times, I'm going different areas of the course each time through, depending on the setup, which I thought was really cool.
It very much feels like a risk reward course
for sure.
With some of those drivable par fours.
All right, let's move to Acoma Mesa. Now, Jim, I'll say this. It's amazing, and the artists do an amazing job. We have done desert courses before. We have done courses that have a lot of sand. What I was really impressed with on this, not even from a design standpoint, was like how different this looks. So you think of like Baja Ria, and you think of some of the other ones we've done recently, and yet this, which is in New Mexico, has a completely different look than anything I think we've ever done. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I love the desert courses. It's something that's actually very popular too. One of those themes that really do well for us. We haven't done one in a little while. So I wanted to revisit the desert, but I also didn't want to just do another flat desert, sandy course. So what's nice about this one is it's in like a mountainous area, but there's some hills here that are undulating more than a normal desert would have. There's like rock outcroppings. I could almost say like mini mountains that are kind of fun because there's got to be some sort of vertical element to creating risk in most of the golf. If there's no vertical element, it's very difficult to use shot shaping to any. You just hit right over things, so it doesn't really help without a tree or something like that. And what these little mini mountains, little ranges provide is the ability to create that vertical element that you have to shoot around rather than just shoot over. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that they protect some of the greens are kind of protected by these. So if you're off, you're hitting one of these little cliff sides. So it's more than just a desert course. There's some little flatter holes in there too, but I like mixing in the kind of rocky terrain to go along with the flat desert.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just replaying the trailer that we put out there, and it's funny. Like every single thing you hit on, Jim, is shown off in this quick 30-second trailer, and that's what I love about these trailers is they're so short and sweet. Even like when I do a 3 or 6 or 27 hole preview at the rate that I go, like there's still so much out there for these players to get their hands on. I know even for we'll see this trailer for a few days after this podcast, but for our sales trailer, I wanted to find a hole on every course that had water. And I think there's like one hole or two holes on Acoma Mesa that has water, but that's part of the uniqueness of it. And, these greens, there are some flat ones, and I think maybe for the trailer, we just highlighted all the ones with the different elevations, but it's going to provide a big challenge. And I think I have not played this one more than a handful of times, but the couple times I went through it, this feels like it's going to be one of this year's tougher courses, just from the changes in elevation and the way you guys have those hazards placed throughout the course.
I also think there's like a ruggedness to the desert. Like some, when you get to like tropical and you're like beaches, you can, the sand will react differently. Like there's a ruggedness to the terrain that if you're off the mark, and I've learned this the hard way, like you're going to struggle to hit greens. You're going or you're going to struggle even on your secondary shot, whether that's you're close to the green or not. I like that. I like the fact that it's a desert, but kind of ruthless in its surroundings, not just with cacti and everything else. So there's kind of there's beauty in that, in the way that it's designed. Now, if I were to guess on maybe the most difficult design, and I mean that in the best possible way, because I just think this course is going to present a look that maybe we haven't seen before. It's Gunnison Gap. So Gunnison, Colorado, and look, thematically, Jim, it's a really neat course because you start up on top of the canyon, and pretty quickly you're in, and you really never come out. So this is
never get out.
completely new. So walk us through it.
Yeah. Well, we haven't done a canyon course in forever. And like we did Grand Canyon a lot, which I love Grand Canyon. I love that course. That's one of my favorites, actually.
Me too.
I think it looks great. I think it plays it's a lot of fun to play. What I really like about the canyon courses is that with our advent of equipment and better shots and lofts, at some point there's abilities to get over a lot of stuff. That's fine. I mean, I understand that, but it kind of takes away some of the design elements. You can't do that with a canyon. You can't get over it. So that creates for me the ability of creating shots that you have to use shot shaping and precise shot making to create. You can't just do the luxury of pulling out a 9-wood and blasting one over the whatever objects are out there. Can't do it here. So I kind of like that. It makes you make shots. and you have no choice. If you want to get in a position for a birdie or eagle, you have to make your shots, and there's no getting around it. So I really kind of like that. I think it's fun. I think those cliff sides are going to really play havoc on a lot of people, but if they try to get too crazy, but if you play good, smart golf, you should have no trouble at all.
Actually, the course is so different. It presented a lot of art and design challenges because shadows within the cliffs is something we played around with a lot. I say I don't do any of this shit, but we collectively looked at, and we had to really, because you want it to be true to form. You're in a canyon, right? The sun should not be beating down on you. There has to be, so shadows are really good. They've done a great job of getting it, I think, the right lighting and yet to feel kind of enclosed. And so that was a challenge. And you're right. I think look, candidly, the first couple of times we went through this, it might have been too hard, right? Like we looked at some areas that you created, some amazing shots, and you'll see when you get to play it and said, all right, well, maybe that's got to be a little wider, but maybe not. I think there's an element of teeth here that I think is really cool. And you mentioned it, like it's probably because the misses can be more punishing with just, you got some hard edges that you got to deal with.
So the Kevin, risk reward here is huge, and
for sure,
because if you start going crazy, taking big chances, and you hit one of these cliffs, you're looking at a couple strokes there, easy to get back into shape. So,
Kevin, what are your thoughts here?
A handful of the par fours. I was trying to record a tee shot in every hole, and some of these I frankly was like, after this, like, I'm not even going to try, because I know you're going to watch this clip and it's going to go ding, ding, ding in the water. But I love that. I mean, obviously we all love the ability to get on the green in one shot, get an eagle on a par four, or have a 2-shot par 5 for eagle. But I think some of these par fours have some challenges that remind me of like Rattlesnake Ridge and some of those drivable par 5s. But where that reward's there, but there's really the risk. And I think that happens on at least 2 or 3 of the par 4s here. You guys talked about the shadows. That was one of the first things I noticed that made shooting the course trailer footage a little bit difficult, because I'm trying to find what is going to look good to the players and also what's not going to get me in trouble with Mike Sanchez going, oh, I don't know if that looks really great with the sun and the light. But for Andy Coolman, who did the editing of our trailers, he really has a good blend of some of those shots where you can get the sunlight in, but also some of these holes are just darker than what you're used to playing. And I think it's not going to be really as much of a challenge, but it's going to be interesting because you're just so used to having like this clear, bright shot at the hole. And with some of these canyons, even the ones that aren't in the way, you're still losing some of that light when you're like, okay, is that fringe, or does that, roll into rough? The other thing too, go ahead, Adam.
No, I played a round of golf in the Redwoods. And I played early with a friend of mine. This was years ago, and huge cascading trees. So different kind of course, but we played like, oh God, we were so hungover. It was terrible, but we played, and it was really hard in the morning because you were towered over by trees on all sides. Also a lot of stuff to hit into. And it's hard to even describe. It just gives you a different look. A lot of Golden Tee courses now too, Jim, are I want to say open, but like you're able to maneuver in and around. Right. You have sunlight, you have sky, you have all these kind of normal points that you're like, all right, this is, and you just don't have that here. And unlike even the Grand Canyon, I think this one is a little bit more like directly, you're directly in it. The
Black Canyon itself, it's set in the Black Canyon, which is in Colorado. And it is one of the steepest canyons in the world. It literally is almost straight up and down the cliff sides. Where the Grand Canyon, there was more of a terraced look where it starts out wide and then it gets, but the Black Canyon is not like that. It's pretty much straight up and down. So that's kind of how our course is. So there's really tall cliffs, and you're next to them. I think a lot of them, like especially on the par 5s, if you don't place your tee shot right where you're supposed to place it, you're not getting there. I really like that. I like it going back instead of just making it about the skill shot as the approach shot. I love holes that make you make a skill shot on your tee shot. and make that have to be precise. Then now you've got to make 2 good skill shots to make the eagle. And to me, there's a little more challenge to that, and I think there's a little more risk and a little more reward when you hit it.
Well, all right. You mentioned Black Canyon. You mentioned precision tee shots. It is a perfect segue to our next course. So those are the 5 new original courses. We'll talk PGA Tour course in a minute, but let's talk about. Go ahead, Kevin. What were you going to say?
Sorry, I actually one thing I wanted to touch upon is hole 16. You talk about, Jim, those par 5s and having to make consecutive shots to get you that eagle. Hole 16 is our designer hole winner, our 17th.
Oh, yes.
The legend, as the hole is called by Aaron Bridgewater, somebody who's submitted, I don't know, a couple dozen designs and has been in that top 10, but this is his first time winning. And probably one of the biggest greens in Golden Tee history that I can remember the last couple of years. There is a tiered aspect to the green, so I can see a lot of long putt records being broken on this hole. But you talk about those massive par 5s, and I believe with hole 16, there's a lot of sand that Aaron placed on the fairway, and that you and the R team did a really good job of taking from his drawing and putting in to Golden Tee, because we're used to designer holes typically being like, oh, this is a fun drivable par 4. I think somebody could probably prove me wrong, but I think it's been a while since we've had a par 5. And this is a perfect transition from the winner's design to what you and the art team did to really bring it to life.
It's Jim, I've never seen a golf hole like it, let alone design a hole.
It was a perfect place to put it too. We had the perfect location. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to put in there. It's always fun to do those holes. I love going through the submissions and trying to figure out how it'll fit in Golden Tee. It's a lot of fun.
It's you'll know when you see it. I'm glad you brought it up, Kevin, because it is truly an original take.
It's so perfect. It'll be fun to play. The next design a hole contest coming out real soon, within a month or two.
Yeah,
because holy shit, 2025 is just flying by, for better or for worse, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to live up to, because it's a really cool design. Speaking of very cool designs, Kings Canyon. So it's been a few years, but we are back on the remastered, not re-teed, remastered. We'll talk about the difference. So this is an original design that you had back in 2003, one of the more popular Golden Tee courses ever created at a time when Golden Tee was really kind of coming into its own as this, global phenomenon. And admittedly, slightly before my Golden Tee time. So I'd played it obviously in 4 over the years, but never all that seriously. And then I've played it now. And Jim, I can guarantee that this will be one of the more, I don't know, it's hard to Rattlesnake. I have such a personal connection to the scoreability of Rattlesnake, but it is,
Vendetta?
Yeah, it's a vendetta, it's a love, it's a hate, but this is going to be up there, I think, with some of the more popular things that we've done. So take us through. It is an Australia course. If you like canyons, obviously you get a little bit more of it here, but a much different take when it comes to canyons.
Back in the day, I don't know if this was the first canyon course we did, or it was pretty close to it. Back in the early 4 days. I don't remember if we did a canyon course like this before, but it just uses the cliffs, just like we had mentioned before with Black Canyon, where there's shots in between cliffs, around cliffs. It's just a lot of fun. I always love this course. I can remember back in the day where I used to go to these, believe it or not, back in the day, I was a good Golden Tee player. And would play, go to these, I think I went to Houston and did really well on this. The Houston Open back in the day did really well on this course. I think I got 8th, believe it or not, in Houston, which is,
wow.
People will have a hard time believing now. It was, I remember this course being very prominent back then. It's just a lot of fun. I think, it brings back memories for me, and I'm sure for anyone who did play it back in the day, it'll bring that back. But then there's also challenges there that really transcend that time. It's still fun now, even if you'd never played it back then. So now with the upgraded look that we have, and the artists do a better job obviously we have better hardware to be able to present it in a better fashion. I think it was a great choice. I think this is a lot of fun.
Kevin, what do you think?
Well, one of the things I noticed, as somebody who's played that course countless times over the years, but looking at how the tee boxes were done back in the day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from some of the footage I was recording, I was playing through, I believe, hole 8, the par 3. And this is actually a really fun par 3. This is the one that has sand and rocks.
Yeah,
in the middle
I got
of
in
the
trouble
green.
for this one. Well, not in trouble. I get people
it's
yelling at me. They call it the donut hole. They don't like them. I stay away
but
from
it's
donut
perfect.
holes since people bitch and complain about it. But it's okay.
Not anymore.
This is double donut.
No, this is a perfect example. This is a great hole, especially in it's almost halfway through your round. For the most part, I don't think players should really be finding themselves in the sand and rocks that much. It's not that hard, but
No.
with the right wind and a mishit, you can find yourself in a pretty tough position. But the other thing I noticed is that I know over the years you found a balance between the original tee boxes and obviously honoring what those were back in the day, but also trying to take advantage of the newer tee box system that we have, where you kind of have a full section of wherever those tee boxes may populate. And one of the things I noticed, I think I probably skipped that hole around like 20 times to find the right side-by-side shot to go with some of the Golden T4 footage I recorded. And that tee box, it's probably 100 yards of what rough that it feels like where that tee box to be set up. And, whether you're playing the game a couple times a week or once a month or whatever the case is, I feel like for that hole and a ton of other on Kings Canyon, like every time you play, even if it's only slight adjustment, you're going to have different looks at those holes. And it's a fun way blending what we did back in the day on Golden T4 with the power and, like you said, the hardware of Golden T Live and Golden T PGA Tour.
We've had obviously player testing done. We've gotten some interesting eyes on this of opinions who they've seen and played it all. And each time someone has played this, they're like, the holy shit factor is significant. I'll say that. I think it's going to be an awesome match play course. I think it complements these other courses incredibly well. I know there's secondary, obviously, for a large part of the population that loves the courses that Jim generates and our team generates. But I do want to talk about TPC Twin Cities, largely because from a PGA Tour standpoint, it's probably the most Golden Tee PGA Tour course that we have in the game. It's tight, there's a lot of water, and there's a lot of drivable par fours. So while you're not going to be playing in Peru, you're going to be playing in a suburb in Minnesota. I think it's a really neat start. It's a little tighter than a lot of the PGA Tour courses. And again, on the PGA Tour side, Kevin, I think it's a little bit more scoreable because of the way it sets up with some of these holes. It's a really exciting, I know they just played out there recently in the tour season. It's a later stop, but I think it's going to offer up by tour standards some scoreable options.
Yeah, there's definitely some risk reward on those par fours, which you don't often get on the PGA Tour TPC courses, especially when you add in Golden Tee equipment and just how far some of these players can drive it. But I think, in terms of scoreability, and it's a Midwest course, which is always, at somebody from the Midwest, I just always love having those courses in.
The last thing, Jim, we want to talk about is the new reteed courses. So reteed is something we debuted this year. Before we even got feedback, this was something we committed to. It's like when a show's pilot does well, like with a test group, you're like, yeah, we're going to run this back. And that's kind of how we felt about reteed courses, because we knew it was going to give some really cool new life to older courses that have been around a bit. And B, it's something that actually we can do with a little bit more frequency and make part of our regular routine. But I am curious, because I can't remember if we talked about this last year or not. Doing this while, placing tee boxes for you isn't necessarily a huge time-consuming thing. The strategy involved in this, I think, is significant. So you're taking a course that was never meant to have like a ton of additional markers and adding a ton of markers on there. So give us a little idea about your approach when it comes to just generally on these reteeds. Like, how do you go about it?
Yeah, for the retees, it's a big part of it is just trying to find out where's an area that I could put these tees, because the original holes weren't created with those areas in mind. So that's a big part of it. And then just making sure that there is an area to put them. And then after that, it's like, well, I need to find some strategy so that these are make a more interesting tee shot, or at least an equally interesting tee shot as the original, so that a lot of times they approach the hole from a different angle, and that difference can make a big change in how you play that hole. So I think for me, it's like, what would be fun? Where would be a fun way to attack the hole from an angle or a height or position that would be a lot different than what they originally had.
So the 3 reteeds this year we've announced this are Celtic Shores, Elkhorn Ridge, and Desert Valley. I think I know the answer to this, and I think in hearing you talk, I would know the answer. But which one of those was the toughest to orchestrate of the 3? Elkhorn, I'm assuming. Yeah, of the 3.
Yeah, you're going like you're
what's funny is
I know by the.
Well, you're also already working on like next year's reteeds, which is funny because I was doing the same thing. So, but Elkhorn, I'm assuming,
Elkhorn,
right?
Yeah, Elkhorn had the hardest time just because it's mountainous and trying to find a flat area to be able to put a tee. It was difficult, but in some instances, I did, since it was far enough away from where you normally play. Like a lot of these, you'd never be playing there. I don't like to alter the courses, but there were a few instances where I did flatten areas just to be able to create a room for a tee. Like I said, I'm pretty much a purist and don't want to change anything from the hole standpoint. But these were tee areas that weren't in the playable area, so I figured I gave myself some license to be able to flatten some of those areas out. So that's how I did that. And that gave me the most difficult of all those courses that we redid. Yeah, I'm sorry for the confusion. It's like we did those retees, we got more to comment. It's like what's funny is that like even with the courses, people will say a course by like the name, like, and I have to like, after you're doing over 100 of these, I have to like, well, which one is that again? I know them by location. I don't really know them by name.
You've only been doing it since 1989, Jim.
Yeah,
so I
you
think
have a pretty
good some leeway here.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's what? Oh, yeah, that course. Yeah, okay, now I remember.
We literally.
So I remember the location more than I remember the name, because quite frankly, I work on them even before we pick a name. So I've been working on those courses even before the name. The name sometimes is chosen at the end.
Oh yeah, that's a fun process too. That's another pod for another day. Yeah, like literally a week ago today, as we're recording this, we had a lengthy meeting on next year's courses and some of the design elements of that. So it's funny. I have the same thing. I know that we've spent a lot more time looking at where we want to go with these. And really, Jim, you kind of, us saying, all right, well, here's an open venue. Like Desert Valley is a really interesting example. It's a little bit more open. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're all a lot of fun, but like short par threes, are kind of a trademark of that course. And I think you found a way to add a lot of life.
I think we have an even shorter one now.
We do amazingly. It's I think that's been kind of a theme of the reteeds. And Kevin, I don't know how much time you've had to spend with them. I know we've looked at them and it's just kind of like, I don't know. They're so much fun. Like that first time playing those through, for some reason, strikes like a cool golden tee nerve that I've not felt. So what have you seen when playing?
No, I think Celtic is a little bit more wide open. And so you'll see some familiar looks, but there's some you've kind of gone and made some really interesting drivable par fours from what I saw. Desert Valley, obviously, some of one of the par threes, I want to say like 13 or 14, that has kind of like almost the U-shaped green with the hill separating the two sides. That I saw like a 50-yard version from the right-hand side.
We're all over the place. Yeah.
that kind of stuff to me, I think for me, because I've been around these courses for so long, seeing those drastic changes is what's so fun for me because it's so different. and going from 225 to 250 on a par 3 to 50 yards, and now you're hitting right towards the hole. Like there's a lot of fun there.
It's seeing these at Worlds, like they were a big part of our World Championship and will continue to be. And I think it's just a really cool compliment. Like we spend so much time, energy, resources on our newer courses. The cool thing about Golden Tee, Jim, you mentioned working on over 100 of these, like, is that, these things have life to different people, new players of the game who maybe didn't experience these in a prize place setting. It will be new to them. Same with like a Kings Canyon, right? I think this is a year where there is still so much that will look and feel new, even if some of these are, more than 10 years old. They don't feel that way. And they don't really look that way. Some of them too. I think they hold up. That's important to us as well. It is part of the process. Like obviously with, Golden Tee Live, you have courses on this game that have been around 20 years now.
Yeah.
So
well, I think another aspect of the reteed stuff is that it kind of gave me a newer perspective on, different ways to play holes. And since we started doing that a few years ago, I have been incorporating a lot more variety into the actual holes in the normal courses, because I think it's just a lot more fun to have those different looks. So you'll notice that in the newer, our new 26 courses coming out, is that you're not going to be able to just rely on one club set and like, okay, here, this hole is always going to play this way. There's a lot of difference.
No, I agree. Variety would be the word that I would use if I were to describe this lineup, because I think it's just, you have some traditional golf looks, but they're not like a traditional muni course, right? Like this is just not that type of year. You're in Alaska, or you're in corn, you're in Machu Picchu, you're in the desert. I think it is truly maybe the most diverse offering that we've ever had. And again, now that people are listening to this in September, you get to play them this month, which is exciting. It's nearly here.
On the topic of retees, before we finish up here, can you guys just, I know what the answer is going to be, but just let me down gently. Is there any chance that we do Palm Springs reteed, or is that too old of a course? Because I think
I'll tell you what, I love that course. I love the way it plays. It's really an uphill battle with the artists, because there are artists here who, like, for me personally, I hate the art on that. Looking back on it, I just think we can do so much better than what we did back in the day.
Well, it's been 20 years.
I know, but some of that stuff is like, and really, it's Kevin. It's not the holes; it's the redoing, because they're going to want to redo all of that. They're not going to accept what's out there, and that's the problem.
What I'm hearing is that
all those
remastered and reteed in the future.
All those holes and everything. I would love to do it. If we can get them on board to redo all those houses and stuff that are in the middle of there. We got the playground, the drive-in theater. There's all kinds of crap. If they want to do all that stuff, I have no problem with it. I'd love to do it, but that's just a lot of work.
Here now, Golden Tee 2028, Palm Springs reteed and remastered.
That was the site of my first ever Golden Tee hole-in-one, hole 18, on my birthday. One of the greatest Golden Tee moments of my life. I love that course too. I think I think we learned a lot doing it year one, because it is funny. That course is open but closed in some areas, and that is the tricky part in the evaluation, I think, too, Jim. Like, to tie a ball on it, like there were some courses that we've picked that maybe you go through like, hey, this is going to be easier or not easier, and it's like, oh, well, no, it was reversed. I had to make these changes to the environment, which are, I like how you worded it, like you want to keep them true. It's also easier to keep it true to form. Some just aren't going to play perfectly nice like that all the time. So
I think at some point, though, going in the future, we need to look at maybe redoing the artwork for some of the early live stuff, because
we've done
our
some, and
stuff
we'll do
has
more.
gotten so much better that it would be nice to bring back a course like that and like have it look really well. And it's really not but we can redo the textures. That's the easy part. It's the courses that are heavy laden with objects like Dusty Bend or Palm Springs. Those are the ones that are more difficult because of the amount of art involved in the buildings and the structures.
New dinosaur for all.
A little bit of grease,
there we go.
A little bit of AI upscaling. I mean, come on.
All right. Well, we said this was going to be short and sweet. It was shortish, but it was definitely sweet. Jim, thanks a ton for the insights. Obviously, it's almost Golden Tee Christmas for everybody, so it's exciting, even for us. Have been around a long time.
Year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a ton of fun. So for Jim, for Kevin, I am Adam. We will see you guys next week for real. This time, we mean it. We are back for at least a while. We are back for the Golden Tee Blab. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.